This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We're having a riveting conversation here on Money Moves as we welcome you back here to the program. Apparently, there's a new Fast and Furious movie that is coming out right now.
The final one.
The final chapter. So JVT was asking me in the commercial break, the new Fast and Furious is coming out and they've got the new title. Can you guess what it is? And I was going through all of the old Fast and Furious movies. First of all, did not even realize there's 11 of them.
I think this is the 11th, no?
This is the 11th.
Yeah.
It has to be because I told you Fast and Furious 10 was Fast and Furious X.
Yes.
And then you were asking me what the next one was.
I know the answer, yeah.
And it is not Fast and Furious 11.
No. I don't think we want to spend all of our time on this.
No, but I'm genuinely curious because we are going through, like, they really didn't get creative for a lot of these.
Correct.
Number 2 is Too Fast, Too Furious, and I think that's maybe the most creative of all of them. Once you got to 5 and up, it was Fast 5, Fast and Furious 6, Furious 7, The Fate of the Furious. I guess that was creative. But then they're like F numbers, so F9, Fast X. What's this one?
Fast Forever. Yeah. Can't wait to see it. I'm down.
Not the same without Paul Walker, anyways.
No, it's not.
Speaking of celebrity deaths, though,
Why you sound so
Catherine
happy?
O'Hara today.
Yeah.
She's like the mother of our childhood. The Home Alone mom.
I mean, that's all I know her as, but yeah, it sucks.
You never watched Schitt's Creek?
No.
She's hysterical
Yeah.
on that show.
No, I've never seen that one.
Oh,
I'm not a
man.
big TV guy, not a big movie guy. You know, the last series I watched all the way through was Game of Thrones, and that was because everybody was watching it.
Wait, that's the last television series you've watched?
All the way through, yeah.
You're not watching anything active right now? Are you more of like a mini-series person?
No, I mean, not really. I watch the news story. I like to keep up with my country. Okay,
That's why you're so unhappy and
Yeah.
bitter, it seems.
that's right. I mean, what are you talking about? Everything's fine.
I don't know. I live in a fantasy
TV
land and
tells me.
things are going great. So, on that note, lots to get to over the course of the next hour on the program. Plenty of Super Bowl 60 talk. We'll get into a little college basketball. One great game on deck in the Big Ten, Michigan State going head-to-head. We can preview a little bit of the card that's to come on Saturday because lots of great games this weekend as well, including Kansas and BYU and a number, what are they, 13 and 14 in the AP right now. Zach
Bet you
Cohen.
wish you were there, huh?
I do. It'd be great. To just get away one more day. Although you're already gone, so why would we need to do that? Zach Cohen will join us on the program as well to dive into the NBA card. 9 games on deck. We already broke down kind of our thoughts on a handful of those games. The big news as well, Nikola Jokic is going to play today as the Nuggets and Clippers go head-to-head, and we'll have best bets at the end of the hour. But that said, let's start with a little Super Bowl talk here because we did see from the American Gaming Association this morning that there is an estimated record to be set on legal wagers for the Super Bowl this year, an estimated $1.76 billion to be bet, which would be a nearly 27% year-over-year increase. We talked with Mike Palm on the program earlier today already about one big bet that's been placed here, albeit a hedge on a Super Bowl future that better already had, but still $1.1 million bet taken on the Patriots money line here. And there will be, this is the second Super Bowl where we'll see Kalshi taking money, the prediction market, along with other operators. That's been rising a lot. And apparently more than $79 million was traded on the winner of the AFC Championship game last week at Kalshi. So we'll see what that number ends up being for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think the key term when you look at this this release by the AGA is bet legally on the Super Bowl. So where other markets are and other jurisdictions and where that money's going and the totality of how much is actually going to be out there, crossing hands when it comes to how much is wagered on the Super Bowl. It's incredible. So I don't think we're surprised by this. I mean, this is kind of what we've seen. It's the rise of gambling, both legally and illegally, and you have the prediction markets, as you're saying, too. Part of the AGA release as well was that people were kind of getting a little confused, thrown off, thinking that prediction markets were sports gambling. They are. And what they were doing with that.
I wonder why people would think that.
Yeah, right. They're so different. But I am going to be curious to see what this number is. What I think is funny is, so we first started VSiN And every year leading up to the start of VSiN and whatnot, when I would work with Matt and the late, great Dave Koken, the storyline was always, hey, what's the handle going to be for Nevada? Is Nevada going to set a new handle and a new record? And that's just kind of fallen by the wayside because people don't really have to come out here to wager anymore. They don't have to, make the trip. They can do it in so many different states now. So that's always interesting to me is now we're kind of zooming out and going, all right, just how much here? It's always been a storyline, but Nevada falling down and not being the pinnacle of betting on Super Bowl Sunday like it used to be.
Well, and I think, too, because of what you have available at your fingertips from a prop betting perspective on a platform like DraftKings or FanDuel's compared to a lot of the brick and mortar shops that you have here in Vegas, it's a different animal what you have available to you. There are a lot of bets that I look at on the online menus and I'm like, man, I would kill to be able to just throw a couple dollars on this, but we just can't do it here. That said, I do think that Vegas is still a destination for people that want to do the Super Bowl parties, want to watch the game in a book. How do you usually take in the Super Bowl here in town?
I think it's different every year. Who calls me?
That's fair.
I mean, we're going to be here, we're going to get right off the air here, so the vibes will be, I'm sure, immaculate here, and we can find somewhere else to go and watch it here or find some spot to go. So I think it changes year to year. I wanted to go back and look, too, by the way. So Nevada last year, while the handle dropped about 20%, state sportsbooks won a net $22.1 million, and that was a record that topped the previous record of $19.7 million. That was when the Seahawks beat the Broncos many years ago. Okay. So 22, despite the fact that the handle was down, a record in terms of win last year. We'll see if they can pull it off again.
And that's why we don't feel bad for sports books.
Oh, yeah. I mean, come on now.
They're not going anywhere.
When we have these odds makers, I'm like, well, how was the weekend? They're like, we lost. It was terrible.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. They're shutting down tomorrow, huh? No.
But that's the thing about the Super Bowl, too. The volume is as high as it is because people that don't normally bet want to have a wager on the Super Bowl, want to dive into some of the props. Your mom, your grandma, she wants you can even bet on squares now, the way that things are playing out. As we actually look at this game, 4.5 has been the prevailing number for most of the week in favor of the Seattle Seahawks in this spot. There has been some questions about the health of both quarterbacks, with Sam Darnold still having the oblique on the injury report, Drake May with that throwing shoulder, and May himself actually addressed on the podium some questions and concerns about the shoulder. Take a listen.
Were you limited at all? Do you anticipate being limited moving forward? I'm just trying to do whatever I can to get back to 100%. And I think a lot of people in the locker room would say the same thing. Having a 2-week break, is nice to maybe rest a little more and get back to get to know the Seahawks as good as I can. And from there, looking forward to getting out to practice and trying to transfer that to live game reps. Spend time. That's why you have trainers, and I think it's just been one of those things where it's a long season, and sometimes things show up, and do whatever I can to feel 100%, and I'm sure I'll get if not there, as close as you can, 99, or do whatever I can to make sure I'm throwing, and like I said, do whatever I can to help the team win.
Something tells me he's going to get shot up, but he's going to be just fine for this game. So.
Yeah. I mean, look, we have now 9 days until the Super Bowl. We're just going to talk about whatever we possibly can at this point.
There's not really a lot of injuries going into this game, so I guess this is the talking point right now.
Yeah, he's fine. He's going to be fine. He's not going to be limited. They're probably resting him for practice, all these sort of things. But I don't think that I would alter my handicapping process if you're somebody that believes in the Patriots, if you're somebody that doesn't believe in the Patriots. I don't think you're altering your process and what you think about this game depending on how his shoulder feels.
We did talk earlier with Mike Palm about how his rushing yards prop is one of the biggest movers we've seen so far, at least in these early days of the menu being available, up from 30.5 at open to as high as 38.5 in the market. Another big mover has actually also been in rushing yards, and it's for Kenneth Walker to the under. I want to say this opened like 78.5, and now we're more in the 74, 75.5 range.
I mean, I think it makes some sense. The Patriots, if you look at what they've done defensively, they're a pretty solid run defense for the most part. I think that you could, and I think that's too, I mean, you're probably going to try to make this one-dimensional. You're going to go after Darnold. You're going to try to make him the cliche, beat you with his arm. And I think that you'd be more than willing to try to look at that and say, yeah. And also, look, the Walker props I think have been inflated a little bit because the perception, and rightfully so, is like he's the guy because of the injury to Charbonnet. But I think that there's a reality where not even a more even split, but the fact that maybe some of the carries aren't there, or the fact that the game plan would be to just bottle them up, and an inflated number like that, I think that's it. I really like the angle of betting these under Drake May rushing yards like we were discussing.
Yeah.
I mean, you would think that that's going to be a big part of the game plan here. He's so good with his legs. He's good at evading pressure. When that pocket breaks and he can erupt for like a 15-yard scramble, it's been a big reason why they've been able to win some of these games that they have.
What do you think about Sam Darnold's rushing number at 6.5?
6.5.
I kind of like the over. I was thinking like Super Bowl, you're going to do whatever you can to get that extra yard, extra first down, touchdown. Plus he's added that more to his game down the stretch. I was looking at some of the numbers. 25 of his 38 rush attempts for the season have come in the last 10 games. If you take out kneel downs, it's 19 of his 25 attempts in the second half of the year. Patriots pass rush could create some scramble opportunities for him. But if you think Seattle is up late like I do, and you think kneel downs could come into play and you don't want to mess with the yards, maybe you could do the attempts over 2.5 at plus money.
Yeah.
But I was trying to look at some angles for Seattle.
Well, Super Bowl rushing props for quarterbacks have never been brutally killed at the end with a quarterback running backwards 15 yards and losing out by the hook.
It is. I'm assuming that happened to you and it's eating away still.
Patrick Mahomes in the first Super Bowl against your boys. You don't remember that last drive? I think it was.
I was thinking about some other things personally on that last drive, but that's fine.
I can't remember the number exactly. It was like 28.5 or whatever it is. He goes over it relatively easily, but then he starts sprinting backwards on that final drive. He loses by the hook.
Yeah.
It was an abomination.
Sickening. As we talked about all these lines moving, lines are always on the move in every sport, but sharp plays is staying ahead of it. And especially in a month like this where you've got such a massive game, limits are rising, mistakes shrink, timing is going to matter more than ever when you get involved. You're not going to outsmart billion-dollar sportsbooks or full-time sharps on your own, but with the sharp plays, you don't have to. Powered by advanced AI, connected to proven insider sources, and locked in on the NFL postseason. The Sharp Plays has helped identify where the sharp money is hitting before the number disappears. You get free daily reports, real-time alerts, market-moving insights, all of it delivered straight to your inbox or X feed since 2011, backing it up with documented results, public logs, and transparent receipts. Sharpplays.com, trusted by the pros, monitored by the books. Stay ahead of the line at sharpplays.com. Okay, we're rolling along here on Money Moves. Plenty of college hoops to get into next. One game in the Mountain West I have questions for you about since you have covered this team very closely. So we'll hit on it all coming up.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV, VSiN Watch app, wherever you're watching or listening. Thanks for hanging out with us today. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Stormy Bonantoni, live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. Let's talk a little college hoops. Do have a couple top 25 teams in action tonight, including a huge one in the Big Ten, number 3 versus number 7, a rivalry game, Michigan State going head-to-head in East Lansing. This opened Michigan -1.5. For a time, we saw a flip of favorites, and now we are back to Michigan favored by 1.5, depending on where you look. We've also seen this total bet up a good bit, JVT, from 145 to 147.5, 148. Any early thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, is the market and are these projection systems, have they adjusted enough on their thoughts of this Michigan team? They have failed to cover 7 straight games now. They are a good team. They are a good team. This is not the Wolverines actually stink, but they are playing truly at a top 30 level in the country. And yet they continue to get priced as an elite team. We've talked about this 1,000 times, and that's pretty much the analysis here at this point. Have they adjusted enough? Nebraska closed, and part of this was injury and absence or illness and absence for Nebraska. But still, they closed as 12-point favorites in that game against Nebraska. Never came close to covering that number against the Cornhuskers. And I wonder if, again, on the road against a rival like this in conference play, are we again still a little too high on this Michigan team? And should Michigan State deserve enough credit here to be favored, even if it's only by 1.5 on their home floor tonight against Michigan?
The only thing I'll say is that while, yes, Michigan is on this 7-game no-cover streak, they've laid 12.5 plus points in like 13 of those games since the loss, right? So, I mean, or not loss, but since this last no cover. So I feel like they've been laying big numbers consistently. And even though maybe it's still a little bit of an adjustment, it's only a 1.5 point spread, which is the second shortest spread they've had all year. They were an underdog to Gonzaga in November, a game that they ended up winning by 40 on a neutral.
Sure, but I think you also argue, right, that this is the best opponent they have faced over this stretch. Like, the market's actually been kind of low on Nebraska for the most part throughout this entire stretch. So we'll see. I mean, look, you talk about the run that Michigan is on, just this winning streak since the loss at home to Wisconsin, Washington, Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State, then that Nebraska game. You even go past the loss, Penn State. They've been awful. They got smoked yesterday. We talked to Greg about that one. USC. So it's right that they were laying such big numbers. So I wouldn't take this 1.5 as a sign of the adjustment. The question just becomes, does Michigan State deserve more? And considering where Michigan's been at, I'd lead toward the side of, yeah, I'd take my shot with Michigan State. But total's 147.5. We saw the potential up and down nature of Michigan. Not that they were running up and down the floor, but that was a high-scoring game in the first half, and it really died in the second half against Nebraska. This seems like a pretty volatile game. It's a coin flip. Maybe you can see if you can find an in-game opportunity here, but would lean toward Michigan State as a 1.5 point dog at home here.
They did most recently win at Rutgers by 9 on Tuesday. Did take overtime to get there, but perhaps a little bit of a look ahead, knowing Michigan was coming to town next. They have covered 5 of 6 prior to that game. Ken Palm has this Michigan by 1, total 145. Again, we have seen that get bet up. It's a 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern tip on Fox National. Then also same tip time for number 21 ranked St. Louis hosting Dayton, CBS Sports Network. This is a reported sellout game for the annual. Actually, before they throw up that graphic, do you know who's that mascot for St. Louis?
The Billikens.
All right. Is that just because you did research on the game? Did you know that before?
No, that's like a very well-known basketball program.
I don't know. I wasn't sure.
What are we talking about?
I wasn't sure.
Everybody knows who SLU is.
So I thought this was cool for their game tonight. I didn't know it was called this. Their whiteout game is called the Billiken Blizzard.
Okay.
And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's what's going on tonight. It's supposed to be like this big, super big deal, sold out crowd,
Now,
all white.
If you were going to ask me what a Billiken is, I have no idea. I just know that they are the Billikens.
Sounds like a bird.
I mean, that doesn't look like a bird. It looks like some sort of fictional character.
I think it's a little elf.
Yeah, that's what I thought. A nymph of some sort.
But they've been awesome this year. Lone loss to Stanford by 1 on a neutral back in November. For the most part, you go through their conference schedule. They've been tearing through until this past Tuesday, 79-76 win, but no cover over George Washington as a 10.5 point favorite. Dayton, meanwhile, they've dropped 3 straight games outright as favorites against LaSalle, St. Joe's, and Rhode Island, covered in just 3 of their last 9, but potentially in a little desperation mode here. Anything stand out to you?
I mean, you said it when we talked about this with Adam when he was with us earlier this week. You know, that George Washington team's a pretty plucky group, and then they don't fit, they don't cover that game. I don't really see, when I look at St. Louis, like we've talked about Miami, Ohio, I see a ton with Miami, Ohio. I'm like, dude, come on. Like, you don't deserve to keep winning these games. St. Louis, not so much. I mean, they're pretty solid across the board. I will say one of the things that does stick out, which will maybe help, I should say, Dayton here. St. Louis, especially in conference play, they haven't turned the ball over a ton. They're about 11th in conference play in defensive turnover rate. They're also 13th in free throw rate defensively, so they're going to put your team on the free throw line quite a bit. So if you're not stealing possessions, and if you're putting Dayton on the free throw line with regularity, seems like a pretty big number with those qualifiers in hand. Still, first in conference play in offense, first in defense. They have been absolutely fantastic, and a top 30 team in both offense and defense for the season. I would probably take 9.5 here, but this St. Louis team, I don't think, going on a limb here as a 9.5 point favorite, would be in danger of getting upended by Dayton today.
And this number has come down, by the way. So people were playing the Flyers. This opened 12. When I was putting my rundown together earlier, it was 10.5. And now, as you said, 9.5, the prevailing spread that we're seeing right now. I actually played St. Louis's team total over 82.5 in this one. Getting weird. They lead the country in scoring margin, 8th in the country in scoring offense, averaging nearly 91 a game. And aside from that game against George Washington, gone over this number in 7 of their 8 prior home games. So,
all right, like it.
Hoping we get there. My thought process is if they win this game, which I think they do, this is a very attainable number for them at 82.5. So rolling with it. I did have a question for you in the Mountain West.
Before we go there.
Oh, go ahead.
3 p.m.
What do we got?
We got Kent State
Oh, yeah.
And we got Akron. We got to text our
Nice
boy.
rivalry game.
Yep.
Where's Adam Burke when you need him?
Where's Adam Burke when
Come
you need
on.
him? Yeah, this is a pretty good game. Akron coming off of a 10-point win at home against
We're taking
Toledo
the points
on
with the
Tuesday.
Golden Flashes, right?
That was going to be my thing. Although, I mean, they did just blow out Ohio at home on Tuesday. They had a couple of, and it's funny because it seemed like a negative scheduling spot for Kent State. They come off of consecutive overtime games at Miami, Ohio contest, and they go to double overtime against Eastern Michigan, but take care of business against Ohio. Some of the projections have about 13.5 here as the spread, but I'm with you. I mean, I'd kind of look a little bit here toward the dog, and the market's kind of heading in that direction. Akron defensively 161st in the country. If you filter it out for just conference play, they're actually the league leader in defensive efficiency up to this point. I still think that this number is probably a little high. Akron, man, they're a good team, but maybe near the top of the market. And I saw 12s pop up, and I was like, I feel like this is a little much. And we're starting to see these 11.5s here. So I'll take Kent State for a little MAC action later today, a little bit of a sweat.
I didn't have this in my best bets, but maybe I'll add it because I was looking into this game earlier too, and that was the side I was going toward.
Don't tell Adam Burke.
UNLV, Nevada coming up tonight. Speaking of rivalry games, we got another one here in the Silver State. UNLV they were getting as many as 9.5 earlier. I still see some 9s out there. It looks like 8.5 is the prevailing number. DraftKings, as the big national book, is sitting 7.5 in favor of the Nevada Wolfpack. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is all dependent on some injury news here for UNLV. Third leading scorer, freshman Tyron Jones, averages 10.6 points and about 5 rebounds per game. The beginning of the New Mexico game on, was that Tuesday night? Hurts his shoulder in like the first minute and ends up sitting the rest of the game. UNLV goes on to get smoked. But if he can't go out there and play, this is a team that is really desperate for some sort of ball handling and shot creation. And it's not like he's perfect for it, but he at least gives you something. He can handle the ball in transition. He had a couple of good moments against your Aztecs. He's at least a decent passer when he gets out and runs, and he's a really good threat at the rim as well once he gets there. He doesn't finish a ton. He's very spindly, but he's just a really important piece for this team, averaging over 25 minutes a game. If he can't go, I think this offense falls off really quick. And so that's going to be something. I think shoot-around's right about now, so we'll find out in the next couple of minutes. If I have an answer for it by the end of the show, because I've sent out a couple of texts, we'll find out whether or not he's going to go. But if Jones can't play today, I would very much lean in the direction of laying that 7.5 from Nevada.
Okay, last thing in this segment, looking ahead to the Saturday card, lots of nationally ranked teams in action, but the big game, that ESPN Prime 4:30 Eastern tip-off in Lawrence, Kansas, between BYU and Kansas. The Jayhawks laying 4.5 on the early look-ahead number as of right now. BYU dropping 2 of their last 3 games, albeit those losses, to Texas Tech and Arizona. How do you think they fare in a potential bounce-back spot in a tough venue at Kansas?
Sounds like Darren Peterson's going to play.
Sounds like
yeah, so that's, I guess you take that with a grain of salt and just wait and see if maybe that's going to be official. But got to tell you, I think you lean a little bit toward Kansas here if Peterson's going to be out there. I know BYU's been great, and they came storming back against Arizona. That's a tough spot, though, to lose that game and now hit the road to take on Kansas, especially if they're going to be at full strength with Peterson out there.
Yeah. Man, I like this BYU team so much, but I bet Arizona, and that was a sweat that I didn't expect it to be because I just thought they were the better team in that matchup, but BYU showed up, and so I am curious what version of them we're going to get.
And Kansas turning things around, man. Like, they're starting to really kind of get it. So I think it's a dangerous spot for BYU as well, because this is where in a good conference the losses can start to pile up. And it's not any fault of your own, but like you play Arizona, you got to go on the road against Kansas. This is the brutality of the Big 12.
Big 12's awesome this year. We've talked a lot about the Super Bowl, and rightfully so. And with the big game upon us, we have a big game 60 deal to match where you can save $60 off your VSiN Pro annual subscription right now. Join us using the code MONEY to get that savings. You get our daily best bets from all of our show hosts and guests, real-time betting splits on DraftKings and Circa, full access to all of our betting tools, including the AI Opta player props, vsin.com/subscribe. Again, use that promo code MONEY to save $60 off for the big game 60 special. We're going to step aside when we come back, keeping the hoops top rolling, but switching gears to the NBA with our VSiN senior editor, Zach Cohen.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
On this Friday edition of Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Excited to have our good buddy Zach Cohen join us here on the Progressive Guest Line as we dive into a 9-game card in the NBA today. You can follow him on X at Betting on X. Does a great job as the host of the Hardwood Handicappers podcast, wherever you get your podcast. JVT even joins once a week because you're just such a great human being.
What days, Stormy?
Tuesdays.
Thursdays.
Shoot.
Thanks for listening.
I knew it was a T.
Yep.
I knew it was a T. It was a T day, obviously.
Sure. You guys have distracted me. I just realized I was looking it up. I guess they get married at the end of Love is Blind. I didn't know that was a thing. But let us not waste any time. I know you have some bets here, Zach, but Nikola Jokic is back today. My love for him is not blind. He is an incredible basketball player. What are we doing? What does it mean? Let's go twofold tonight, as this is 1.5 with a total of 217.5. And also, is he worth 5-1 at MVP? I feel like we want longer given what he has in front of him in terms of games played.
I kind of think he's worth 5-1. I'll start with that. I feel like it's pretty realistic that he doesn't miss another 4 games. That's, I believe, what he needs to do the rest of the season is not miss another 4, correct? Did you look that up as well?
I looked it up. I thought he was on 1. So I maybe have to redo my math.
Okay. Maybe my math is, it's possible my math is off. If he only can miss 1 more, then no, he's not worth a bet. But if it's 4 or 5, then I think he is. That's
actually,
we
you know what? I think you're
right.
You're right. You're right. Hold on. I'll redo this. You're right. Go.
All right. All I'll say is, like, his numbers, at least statistically, like looking at advanced numbers and normal numbers, do stack up really well in an MVP market. Like, it's really just, will voters be okay with him missing this big chunk of time? But I don't know how you hold a legitimate injury against him. This isn't like a load management type of situation. This is a guy that legitimately hurt his knee. And if he comes back and plays the way that he was playing before this injury, and Denver continues to be a top 4 seed in the Western Conference, I think he deserves it, especially with the way that OKC has kind of fallen off a bit since that red hot start to the year. I know that, the Nuggets played well without the Joker, and maybe that hurts his case a little bit. It shows that his team's maybe a little bit better than we think it is around him. But I just kind of think that what he was doing before he got hurt was close to unprecedented, which is crazy for him because it feels like we say it every single season.
Mm-hmm.
So have you looked it up?
Yes, but I'm afraid that I'm wrong, so I'm not going to respond.
I see he has played in 32 games this year, and the Nuggets have 34 left. Does that sound right?
It does, but that doesn't answer the question, so let's move on.
So then that would be, for 65 games, that would be...
What do you got
2
today
more?
What do you got today in the Wizards game?
What? That's 3 more, right? Isn't that 3?
Are we both wrong and it's like somewhere in the middle?
I feel like
probably,
that's 3 more.
But yeah, sure, that's 3.
65 game threshold, you've played 32
I also
games.
think we probably should be working this out on the
All
air.
right.
So let's move on to the Wizards game. What do you got?
I have Alex Sarr over 27.5 points and rebounds. I think my math is right on that one.
Yes.
This is a guy that has gone 28 plus combined points and rebounds in 4 of the last 5 games, averaging 37 points and rebounds over his last 2 games. And I really like this matchup for big men. This Lakers team is just really weak at the center spot, whether it's DeAndre Ayton or Jackson Hayes. I think it's going to be Sarr kind of dominating around the rim. This is a bottom 10 team in the league at defending the basket, and he does score a really good chunk of his points at the rim, and also a pretty good shooter as well. He knocked down a 3 or 2, and rebounding wise, I think he's going to impact this game as well because the Lakers are just not very strong on the glass. And you've just kind of seen some big men really dominate this Lakers team over the last couple of games. Jared Allen, Nikola Vucevic, Ivica Zubac, Donovan Clingan, to name a few. And I think that Sarr is maybe the most talented, at least both ways, player of all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the Raptors and Magic. Orlando laying 2.5 at home, total 219.5. And we were talking earlier about the last time these two teams met. Toronto overcomes a 21-point deficit to win by 1. It was the largest blown lead that the Magic have had all year. What are you looking at? What angles should people be identifying in that one tonight?
I took Anthony Black over 4.5 assists at plus 115. It's just another situation where there's a key player out for the Magic, and it's Franz Wagner, this time not Jalen Suggs. You know that Black has done a lot of his best work when Suggs is missing, but even in the games that he has played this year with Suggs in and Franz out, he has been on a decent job as a passer, 5.4 assists per game in those 7 contests. 6 of those 7 games, he had at least 5, so he's pretty regularly hitting this mark. And I know Toronto's a really good defensive team. They are, I believe, 7th in the league in adjusted defensive rating. But I just kind of think that Black's role is going to allow him to go over this number, even if it doesn't look that pretty. And I do kind of have a lean on the Magic tonight. I think that Orlando is going to figure this out soon. I think they're a little bit too good to continue to be this bad.
Yep, and you are a Orlando truther, I believe, so we should put that out there. You do love the Magic.
Half and half.
Half and half, okay. I am dangerously close to getting this correct, but I'm not going to say. We'll wait to the end.
It's one.
I am right?
It's one.
Okay, yes. He missed 16 games. They went 10-6 in an 82-game season. 65-game minimum will mean you can miss 17. So we are at one. That is the number for Nikola Jokic.
We did it.
I blame both of you because I was right the first time. All right, Blazers plus 7.5 taking on the Knicks. What do you like?
Yeah, I like the Blazers. I do think we're going to need Denny Avdia to play in order for this to hit. He is questionable tonight and has been missing some games, but 2 full days of rest for Portland. The Knicks are playing their 3rd game in 4 nights, and I just kind of think that while New York has been really good over the last 4 games, they've been blowing teams out ever since they kind of had their little powwow and worked things out amongst themselves. But you kind of look at the last 15 games, the bigger sample size, but also taking into account recent play. The Blazers are 9-6 in that span with a plus 1.2 net rating. The Knicks are 6-9 with a plus 0.6 net rating. I just don't have a 7-point gap between these teams, even at Madison Square Garden. There's also some key players, on the injury report for New York as well, with Miles McBride doubtful. He's been really good for New York this season. I think that Hart is going to play, but if he's playing banged up and he doesn't play, to the fullest capabilities, I do think this is a game that the Blazers are going to have a chance to win late. So I kind of like the 7.5 points.
Grizzlies and Pelicans going head-to-head. Grizz have dropped 4 in a row, which included a 133-127 loss at Memphis just the other day. I know there is a prop that you were looking at on Cam Spencer. How'd you get there?
I took the over on Spencer's 8.5 assists, and I actually laddered this up to 11. This is just another game where there's going to be no Ja Morant, no Ty Jerome. It does look like Jerome is going to be coming back very soon for Memphis. Really interested in seeing how that looks because his metrics without Donovan Mitchell in Cleveland were insane. And I think that Memphis really believes that they're getting a starting quality point guard in him. So it will be interesting to see what happens to Spencer's minutes once Jerome is back. But for now, it's still just him at the point guard spot. And he's averaging 10 assists per game in the last 10 games he has played without Ja Morant. And this Pelicans defense is just a disaster. They're 24th in the league guarding spot-up jumpers, 29th guarding transition plays, and 29th guarding at the rim. So I think there's going to be a lot of good looks to go around for Memphis, and Spencer's job is kind of to find those looks. So I think this is going to be a game that he potentially flirts with a major number in the assist column.
All right, Detroit Golden State later tonight. Now, Stormy's got something here. She's got the side, but walk us through not only what maybe you would think happens in this game from that perspective, but also I think you got to play in the total here.
Yeah, I mean, I did lean Warriors. I don't know if that's where Stormy's going with it, but I do have the under on 224.5. I just think that this is going to be a matchup between 2 of the top 5 defensive teams in the league. I don't think that either one of them will be kind of in a rush to play at a fast pace. Neither one of these teams is in the top 10 in pace of play. And I was kind of a little bit nervous about Detroit coming off, a game last night in Phoenix, but it was a blowout kind of for pretty much the entire game. So they did not play all of their starters huge minutes. I mean, Cade played 34, but nobody else played more than 30. I think that they're going to be fine tonight in terms of physicality. And yeah, like I said, number 2 in the league in defensive rating. The Warriors, I think, are number 4. I just think this is going to be a pretty ugly game. And I don't think that either team is going to want to change that. I think that, the best way forward for both of these teams tonight is for it to be kind of a grinded out game that you try to win late.
Man, you guys are stressing me out. I took 3 with the Pistons last night, so this is why I don't delve into the NBA.
You say you guys. I didn't even say anything.
Last 90 seconds. Anything else you have on tonight's card before we let you go?
I don't have anything. Actually, no, I do. I have Oso Iguodala over 12.5 points, rebounds, and assists in tonight's game between the Cavaliers and the Suns. And that is because Mark Williams, usually on these back-to-back sets, plays less minutes because he's been an injury-prone player throughout his career. The Suns aren't resting him on back-to-backs, but they do play him less than his normal workload. And Iguodala has been really good at putting up numbers in these back-to-backs when playing, these extended minutes. And I do think he's going to have a pretty good game tonight. And then I'll also mention, just while we're talking about the Suns, or while I'm talking about the Suns, I do think Jordan Ott at this point is worth a play at Coach of the Year. I saw that at plus 400 last night. Not sure what it is as of this moment, but I do just kind of think that right now we're looking at a Suns team that is in the top 6 in the Western Conference. You look at what they were supposed to be before this season and what they've actually been is so much better that it has been one of the most incredible coaching jobs that we've seen this year. And I think it's better than what we've seen from Bickerstaff and Johnson and these other guys. I do think he's going to end up winning.
All right, about the same price, by the way, plus 350, 4-1, depending on where you look.
Zach, you're awesome. Thank you for doing this, buddy. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys, and don't bet Jokic. You can only miss one more game.
That's right. Yeah. I was right. Come on now.
Reminder
you can't
as well.
do that to me.
The reason why I thought you were on Tuesdays is because you record Pod to the Futures on Tuesdays and then you do Hardwood Handicappers on Thursdays. As always, make sure you check out the Hardwood Handicappers podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Daily NBA betting advice from Zach and other VSiN analysts. You get early tips, market movements, angles, expert predictions, ideal preparation before tip-off each and every week.
What's that last bet Zach had?
Iguodaro.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Getting you ready for the weekend as we wrap up this Friday edition of Money Moves live in downtown Las Vegas at the world's largest sports book, Circa Resort and Casino. Stormy Bonantoni, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. And I'm going to let you kind of lead the ship here because this was something that you were really excited about when you saw them drop over at the Westgate. And I know a handful of books are doing this as well, but the cross-sport props as it pertains to Super Bowl 60 and different things. You were excited about some of these.
Oh, I mean, so I'll have one of these. I'll have an article up on Sunday up at VSiN.com, so you can check those out, and I'll write these up. But it's always fun to just kind of go over these, and we'll have more and more. But the Westgate put up 8 different cross-sport props. And we don't even have to have an answer for some of these, if you will, but just looking at a few of them. So, for example, Jalen Brunson, points -0.5 versus A.J. Barnett receiving yards. Brunson and the Knicks will play the Celtics on February 8th. So that will be Saturday, if I remember correctly. Keep that in mind, too. Always look at these. Obviously, you want to know what game these are tied to. You'll make mistakes all the time. Same game, Jaylen Brown points versus Ramondre Stevenson rushing yards -17.5. That one did stick out to me. Quick lean toward Jaylen Brown plus 17.5. I know Mike Palm came on and said that he thought the Patriots could run the ball on the Seattle Seahawks. And I actually think that's not the worst thing in the world if this is the case. Because I think if you are, that also means that you're going to give TreVeyon Henderson a little bit more of a run here potentially against Seattle. Also, Jaylen Brown playing the Knicks. They're not like the best defensive team as we have seen at times. So I think Brown can have a pretty good point outing scoring outing, against the Knicks. So don't hate plus 17.5 with Jaylen Brown points against Ramondre Stevenson rush yards. But we'll see if that's the case. Clippers and Timberwolves points, total points for the game, -4.5 versus Drake May passing yards. I don't know if you've heard this, but Drake May, he's had a shoulder issue. And so maybe this might pop up here and hold him back. I'm being somewhat facetious there. And then Anthony Edwards points versus Hunter Henry receiving yards -6.5 in the same game. So a couple of the NBA ones. You look like something is stuck in your craw.
Like not the shoulder element of Drake May pass yards, but no defense forces a more shallow depth of target than the Seattle defense has this year at 6.5 yards per play. So maybe that is something where you get a little bit more. I know Drake May's been explosive for the large part of this season, but given the quality of opponents that he's played, I think a little bit different. And we've seen how he struggled in the postseason. So I could see that.
Yeah. I guess the rebuttal would be they get blown out and he's just racking up passing yards because he's trying to get the team back in it.
Sure. But how much of that would be attempts versus actual yardage too?
Yeah.
But
sure. I think that makes some sense. In golf, Waste Management Phoenix Open winning score -28.5 versus Sam Darnold's passing yards. Scotty Scheffler's 4th-round score versus Jackson Smith and Jigba's receiving yards -23.5. Hideki Matsuyama 4th-round score -23.5 versus Stephon Diggs receiving yards. And then Nick Taylor's 4th-round score versus Kenneth Walker's rush yards favored by 5.5. So you're going to get a ton of these.
I like the creativity. It's fun.
I mean, we'll probably get some more of these as we get closer, but you have a ton of fun with them. There's a lot that you'll see. You'll have some that tie into some longer ones. Masters, for example. There was a VGK one a couple of years ago that went out like a couple of months or something like that. So they probably won't get a ton on those. And like we talked with Mike earlier, depends on what not your goal, but what you feel like is worth prioritizing. As Mike said, they want to make sure they put stuff up here at Circa that will generate handle and get action. In some spots, you'll put up novelty props, especially offshore, to get some pub, if you will. Release a press release like, hey, we got these props up. how long is Cardi B's hair? She shows up on stage, things like that. But these are fun. You can actually handicap these if you've got a feel for the NBA, PGA, and if you're handicapping this game, and bet them accordingly. And so we'll have write-ups on these coming up on Sunday up at Visa.com.
Okay, let's get to the Thursday betting recap before we do our bets for the weekend. I went 1-1 yesterday. The Islanders come through on the money line, cash in both games against the Rangers on back-to-back nights. Ducks, meanwhile, of all the teams to shut out the Anaheim Ducks, it happens to be the Vancouver Canucks who finally stopped the bleeding a little bit with a 2-0 win yesterday, so didn't get there on Anaheim. However, wasn't one of my best bets, but I was kicking myself. I told you we previewed so much of that Buffalo Sabres game, and I said I liked the angle on the over 3.5 goals for the Sabres. They get there, and I didn't play it, so kicking myself a bit there. Just one game in the NHL tonight, which I do have a bet on. We'll get to in a moment, but you had a great night yesterday on the hardwood, so go through it.
So last night we get there with the Wizards and the Wizards money line, plus 2.5 and plus 110. Hawks get smoked, but game stays way under the total. Mavericks plus 4.5, like we talked about, the perfect result for us there. Mavericks covering, Hornets winning outright. And then I don't know if you saw this, Anthony Edwards. So, such is life. I'm doing some stuff, and I'm like, cool, I'm going to sit down, watch this Thunder Timberwolves game. And as I'm walking to go sit down, I get a text from Zach Cohen, who we had gone together on this. He goes, we don't even need to watch the rest of the game. Anthony Edwards immediately started off 3-4. He was red hot, got there pretty easily. So
saw some people tailing you on Twitter, too, that chimed in.
Yeah, they were at the game. So a very rare, somewhat rocking chair day. If the Hawks had covered, it would have been a great day. So good night. We'll see if we can keep this going here into the weekend. Go ahead. I've got two plays that I've added here, one future and one side.
Okay, I'm going back to our Blue Jackets. Are they our Blue Jackets now?
I think at this point, yeah, sure.
Pretty much. They've been great since Rick Bowness took over. I bet them early at minus 137. You're still out farther than minus 145 now, but I think it's worthwhile. Or if you want to do a regulation play where you can get them at plus money or a little bit cheaper, that's another angle just to bring down some of these prices. In Chicago, taking on a Blackhawks team that just isn't that great. And for this Blue Jackets team, they've really gotten to their game recently. 3-game win streak, won 7 of 8. Over this hot streak, JVT, they are tied for the league lead in points percentage, 4th in shots on goal, 5th in goals per game, 8th in power play percentage, 9th in save percentage. Chicago's on a 4-game slide. They've dropped 7 and 9. Played well against the Wild, but even in that game, they were up 3-0. They let that lead go away, fall apart against the Penguins yesterday. I know Chicago's at home, but Columbus is just the better team here. They've also coincidentally, and I know you don't love these types of stats, but won 5 straight in the series. Sometimes you just have another team's number. They won all of those games by at least 3 goals, outscoring them 27-10 in that 5-game span. In college hoops tonight, I am on the St. Louis team total over 82.5 against Dayton. I think they're going to have a lot of momentum on their side. The spread was just a little bit too big for my blood. Open 12, and I know that it's come down to 9.5, but still just felt a little bit long. I think they win this game, and if they do, the way that their offensive efficiency metrics stack up, I think they should be able to at least clear this number. Pistons plus 3s, we've talked about a lot today in the NBA, and then you and I in a commercial break earlier added Kent State plus 11.5.
Yeah, sorry, Adam. Adam Burke, our managing editor. So we'll go with the Golden Flashes here today. We join each other there, and I'll need your thoughts on this. I have added, it is not a great track record, but one more NHL future here. Got to get one of them, right?
Gotta get one.
Edmonton Oilers to win the Pacific Division is what I've added here today. That was plus 270 is where you can find it. We've talked about it a ton. Vegas is not a team that I think is legitimately threatening. You tell me, so I don't have a gauge of, as a team where a save percentage should be. But among 4 goaltenders for your team save percentage to be at 88%, that's not.
They're reeling. It hasn't mattered who's been in net. It just hasn't been good.
Yeah.
But the overtime stuff, I'm trying to figure out how much I'm going to let this impact my view of the Golden Knights because they have 14 overtime losses this year. That's why their points are what they are. But in the playoffs, overtime is very different than it is in the regular season. You don't go to a shootout. It's not 3-on-3. And so for me, when I look at the Golden Knights' big picture, sure, for the division, that's still very much up in the air. But I'm saying, looking at the Golden Knights and how far they might go in the postseason, I don't know how much I can put that into my handicap.
Sure.
If it's a killer instinct thing or just because the game is so different when you get to overtime in the postseason, if I should have that be in my head.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. To me, it's like you said, this is just division. I'm not betting the Knights to miss the playoffs or anything. I just think that they're a flawed favorite at the top of this division right now. Edmonton's been playing extremely well, as you have pointed out. A better goal differential. differential at this point. I think slightly better goaltending that you would maybe kind of trust for Edmonton as well. I just think there's a lot of indicators that the Golden Knights should not be this odds-on favorite in a division in which they are tied in terms of total points with the Edmonton Oilers.
They're a sub-500 team.
Yeah.
It's like
and I would
crazy.
note, too, really quickly, they still have 3 games left against each other. So I still get this head-to-head. This hasn't been decided, and I think Edmonton can do well in those. So, yeah, Edmonton to win the division, plus 270. And, yeah, Kent State. And there we go. I think that's it.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I apologize. I should have sent that to you, Justin. I pulled a Stormy there.
We're, I think, less than a week away now, or maybe like right on the week away from when the Olympic break will kind of take hold. And with that, over the course of the next month, I think we'll do a good job of kind of diving into some of those NHL awards markets and doing a reset on teams that we think we should buy in on or maybe stay away from the back half of the season. So that should be a pretty fun exercise. That's a wrap for it. This show has gone by pretty quickly, I feel like, today. I know it's always fast with you when you're having fun with me. I know.
It's kind of a drag. You doing that on purpose?
Actually, yeah.
Because I did at 11:45. I was like, it's only 11:45.
You're like, what the F? I thought it was 12:30. I'm like, oh, sorry. I just ruined your day. That said, have a great weekend, everybody. Good luck with the bets. Should be a fun one, no doubt about it. Keep it locked right here on VSiN, though. Follow the Money is coming up next with Mitch and Paul.
And for this weekend, just a note, we are actually off on Sunday. I know we usually are on Live Bet Sundays, but we are off for the week between the Super Bowl. We'll be back, of course, for our Super Bowl programming, which I don't think we're allowed to announce yet, but we will be on right before kickoff.
Special edition of Money Moves.
Yeah.
You're not going to want to miss it. All right. See you later. We'll be back Monday.